What's up, everybody? Bootsy Greenwood here, and I have been talking about this amazing work, Reality Transurfing by Vadim Zealand. Probably my favorite book. I've read it a lot. I'm reading it again. I'm just going to keep reading it and rereading it. The last time I read it, I realized that there were so many nuanced topics that I wanted to cover and talk about here on YouTube. And so I'm kind of doing things backwards, I guess, from what a lot of people are doing. Because they'll talk about the basic stuff and then they'll try and lead you to something more advanced. I want to talk about the advanced stuff here and the basic stuff. I've got a ton of other older videos too that you can check out on this topic, dozens and dozens of them. And then I also have a audiobook summary that just goes through and it just outlines all this stuff as really in a concise way, but it gives you all the information that you really need, right? It's not like, man, I listened to a summary the other day on Everend, and it was like, in the first chapter, they talk about this, and this, and then they talk about this, and they talk about this, and this too, and then they talk about this. It didn't give you any of the actual practical, useful information. It just talked about what they talked about. And after the first chapter, I was like, what? This is not even a summary. It's just like, it's like the worst book report I've ever heard. So anyway, I try to do a little bit better than that and give you the actual goods in as dense a format as is humanly possible. But I haven't been on here on YouTube in a while to be able to kind of see what the world's like, what people are talking about here, spiritually speaking. And I thought I would talk a little bit today about the idea of a specific person, which is a weird kind of manifest your dating partner. There's a lot of people who are talking also about dating on here, and that's not really. I'm not an expert in dating. Okay, I don't know that there really are too many of those, if I'm honest. But I do have a little bit of insight into this particular topic, especially the idea of a specific person and the idea of Neville Goddard's quote, which is often, I think, misrepresented and or taken out of context, that everyone is you pushed out, or the world is you pushed out. Which on the surface, I really agree with that statement. You know, the world really is sort of us pushed out, right? As we've been talking about in transurfing, you know, there is infinite points of view on the graph, right? Infinite points of view. You might be over here, I might be over here, somebody's over here, somebody's over here, somebody's over here. Variability is the world's most fundamental quality. And what does that mean? That means every single perspective is valid. Every single perspective on that graph is actually one of the sort of perspectives of maybe God, you could say, right? Each one is a perspective. Each one is a dream of the Almighty, the Creator. And some of them are pretty crazy. Some of them are wild. But it doesn't make them any less valid, I would say. Now, when it comes to a lot of these philosophies and spirituality, what some of these philosophies lead to is an idea called solipsism. Solipsism. All right, and I'll spell it out because it's kind of a weird word. But solipsism is the idea that you're the only person here in this world that exists. It's you, and that's it. And everyone else is basically at your whim, at your beck and call, and you can manipulate and coerce them and push them around and force them to do things and, you know, just be a tyrant. Now, I will say this, from the perspective of transurfing, it would be really easy to use a lot of these ideas in here to just mess with people and to get your way. I think a lot of narcissists and sociopathic people and psychopaths, they often are very successful, externally speaking, when it comes to their goal, in part because pendulums affect them less, okay? For us, the big hooks of a pendulum are, generally speaking, guilt, duty, and obligation. So if you feel guilty, then you're less likely to do something that makes you feel bad. You don't want that smoke, you know? Duty and obligation is like, well, I'm part of this group and I have to conform and I have to be like the people in it. And so this is this pendulum string that makes us feel obliged or, sort of coerced into doing certain things. And a lot of people who are emotionally abusive, they'll use those manipulative tactics in order to get people to do other things. Now, from the solipsistic point of view, nothing wrong with it, right? You're the only one in existence. But here's where it gets funny. It's like, how can you be a spiritual teacher on YouTube talking about how you're the only person who is really alive in existence, but then you're teaching other people that they're the only one that's alive in existence? That's not true, okay? There's a mix between these realities, okay? We are in a material reality. There's one inert material reality, okay? One. There's just one. Now, there are infinite potential perspectives and views of this one material reality. And then you've got the infinite, infinity soup goo out there, okay? And that's completely different. That's the metaphysical space. That's the alternative space. That's the mind of God, whatever you want to call it. The dream space. It's all synonymous, okay? So, what a lot of people do is they will get hooked into this idea that they're the only people in the world, and they'll start seeking this external sort of form of control over other people. And if it's dating, to possess a certain person and bring them into their life, or if it's a certain goal or objective that the person has. And in almost every case, it becomes abusive and very, very manipulative, this whole idea of like a specific person, okay? That the world is you pushed out. Now, let me explain why it's true that the world is you pushed out, because it's, again, a very nuanced topic, and this is what I want to talk about on my channel, nuanced stuff. So look, the world is you pushed out. What does that mean, okay? What that means is there's nothing very much real to you in your experience other than your experience, okay? And let me give you an example. So I might want a specific partner, okay? I might have a crush on somebody and I might want to pursue a relationship with that person. So let's say that I do pursue a relationship with that person and I try to get them into my life, okay? Well, what is it that I want? Why do I want this person in my life? What is the value? What is the benefit of having this person in my life? Well, from an egoic perspective, I guess other people will see me with them. Maybe that's part of it. But from a true perspective, what is it that I want from this person? What can this person give me that I can't experience myself? Or what is it this person's going to give me that is not going to be my own experience? Okay? Everything that I experience through the world, my awareness is very limited to myself. I can't experience the world through another person's perspective. I can think about it from an empathetic point of view, right? But I can't actually physically experience anyone else's life or consequences or any of that. I can only experience mine. That's it. So if I get this person in my life, or if I get a great award, or if I get some achievement or recognized as some great, amazing person, what is that experience? It's me experiencing myself. It's an emotional experience that I'm having as a result of an experience that's happening out here. Now, when it comes to the idea of, bringing a specific person in your world, you're going to be a high-value man or whatever. Don't be a high-value man. Just be highly valuable, Be valuable. Value yourself, because that's the thing that's going to attract that person probably into your life anyway. And if it's not, then you might not want them. They might be a manipulative person. They might be a gold digger. They may have certain attributes and qualities, because it's real easy to just put somebody up on a pedestal and think they're just the perfect, most beautiful thing. And then you get to know them and you're like, wait a second, And then all of a sudden you'll have a flip of them and you'll start to see all the negative things in them, and then you'll want to get away, and it's crazy. But ultimately, you're the one having the experience. And no one can really give you that experience. That is an emotional experience that you have within your own being, your own source of existence, your own awareness, your own consciousness. And yeah, it's spurred on by the love of someone else. And you can be influenced by all of these things, but what is it that you're really seeking? Is it ego validation so that people can see you with somebody, or you can feel power over someone? Because anytime we go to possess someone, they feel the neediness and the creepiness that is. It's gross, and it's very off-putting, right? What is it? Desperation is a very stinky cologne. Now, the metaphor that Vadim Zeland uses for love is that he says that unconditional love is very rare, but no one can resist unconditional love. And he gives this metaphor. Now, unconditional love is not possessive. So that doesn't mean that the person's going to come into your life and like start, doing your sock laundry just because you unconditionally love them. But really, what is it that you're trying to get from being in that type of relationship? It's just the feeling of unconditional love itself. And you can already feel that. You don't actually need someone to physically be present for you to feel that. Okay? The metaphor that Vadim uses is a wildflower out in nature. If there's a wildflower out in nature, we can admire the wildflower and see it for exactly what it is. We look at it, we say, oh, it's so beautiful. Look at it, we smell it, we can touch it. But many times what we try to do is possess it. We'll pick it, we'll put it in a vase, and we'll set it on the table. And there it dies. We get to watch it die. In 2 or 3 days, it's dead. We've ruined the magic. We've ruined the beauty of that thing. We put it in a cage. We've lessened its meaning. So when you go out there looking for a specific person, the best thing that you can do is to be your own person. Be and do things that are valuable to you, that you value, right? Like, don't be a high value guy from someone else's perspective, or a high value girl from someone else's perspective. Like, I got six pack and 6 figures and, six, whatever. That's pretty demony, 666. But anyway, that's really not what it's about anyway. Because you get that one person, you're gonna get into a relationship with them, and your goal, it's not gonna fulfill you. If you might feel happy because you did this thing, you did a conquest, so you get a little bit of a jolt of ego juice and validation from that. Well, congratulations, that's great. Good for you, I guess. You overcame something, you dominated something, and there will be blowback for that. But I think that's just a bad it's just a, I don't know, it's just a weird intention. Okay, that intention is not ultimately going to be rewarded. It's going to blow up. It's going to get nasty. It's not going to be good over time. Okay, so you don't want to be a solipsist, but you also, want to value and appreciate yourself, and just know that that thing that you want is really just your own approval. So value yourself, love yourself. Get those emotions, they're coming from you anyway. It's an external event, it's someone else, saying this or that makes you feel good. But if you don't need somebody to, give you that experience, you don't need anybody to give you that experience. You can just admire them for who they are in their own context and not try and control or possess them like you do the flower in the field. And when in transurfing, this is what we need to learn to do with our minds, to love our heart with all our mind. Because our mind is the key to the source of infinity. Our heart lives in the alternative space, and our mind lives in this inert reality, but it can communicate with our heart. So whenever we learn to look inside of our heart and love our heart with our mind, then all of a sudden we're building a unity between heart and mind, which exudes charm, which makes us more attractive, which puts us on our path and starts to draw circumstances to us that are beneficial for us. So I don't know. I kind of went on about this. I've just seen a lot of people talking about the specific person idea. I highly encourage people to just be wary of it. Don't go and try and control someone so you can have some sort of an ability to push them around or something, or maybe you think that you're gonna, I don't know. I don't know. Ask yourself where that ends, because if it doesn't end with the love that you're creating within your own being, then I'm not so sure that that's a fruitful endeavor. So be the valuable person, right? Value yourself. Don't. There's no point in doing all this stuff so that somebody else likes you, you're capitulating to their authority and what they think. You're not being true to who you are. You're not on your own goal. You're not on your own path. You haven't created your own process. And that's really what we want to do. It's just a much more freeing way of being. But anyway, I say all that to say, thanks for watching this video. Like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Transurfing summary, it's available. It's on my website. Please go check it out. Thanks for being a subscriber. Thanks for hanging out. Check out the podcast. Much love. Peace out. Many blessings. We'll see you next time.